Hey you guys, welcome back to Angel Angela. And on this topic, as you guys can see, I am going to be talking about how empaths need to find the strength to move on. So the empath has to find the strength to move on. So moving on, as we know from narcissists, what we felt, right, was abuse. It's very hard to move on. But at some point, you're going to see that certain things just had to happen, right? For you to understand the bigger picture, right? Sometimes we get so defensive, right? When something's not going as planned or something is not going our way. And it's very crazy, right? How we'll spend so much time, right? But I'm not saying it's crazy, but it's needed, right? It's really, really needed. And you'll spend so much time, right? Because I'm always bashing the narcissist on here. I'm giving them, punches and kicks and stuff. But on this topic, I feel like it's not even worth it. Like, I could tell you a lot of things, right, about narcissists, how they behave, things that they do, the back and forth, the lack of accountability, the silent treatment, just the pain that you're feeling is like very abusive, right? And it hurts, and seeing the bigger picture hurts, right? But a lot of times we think we're seeing the bigger picture. We think we know everything, right? We bash people that have hurt us, right? Some people take accountability, some of them don't. And a lot of times we don't really think that the reason they don't is because they don't even know what they're doing. It's like they know what they're doing, but they don't know what they're doing. They know what they're doing, but the pain isn't affecting them. It's only affecting you because it's your world, right? And they're in their world. So in your world, right, you have your story. In the narcissist world, they have their story. And I think the craziest part about knowing that is that you know what happened. You know the facts, right? You know the facts. You also know that you aren't perfect. You know that they aren't perfect. You're willing to forgive them, right? You're willing to take accountability, and you feel like as long as you take accountability, I'll take accountability. And it's almost like they're kind of like, no, you take accountability and then we could be cool again. And that's really how it is with them, right? And that will drive you nuts. It will drive you crazy because you're like, is this person playing with me? Are they just torturing me? Are they gay? You just come up with a whole bunch of different scenarios, right? You start feeling like you don't even know this person. You're like, at some point, we're just not clicking, right? If I draw back, you pull in, right? If you pull out, then I pull in. And then when things are good, they don't stay good forever or the same. It's always something. There's always ups and downs, and the empath can't take it. You weren't expecting that. You were expecting like live happily ever after, right? You don't think about the many lives you've had. You don't think about, all the times you moved on, you were forced to move on. All the obstacles, all the things in your childhood, everything, right? And then when you start thinking about these things, you start grieving these things, right? And it's hard to move on because you'll be grieving these things. The narcissist, sometimes they even bring it out of you. They're like, you know you've been through these things, but it seems like you don't see the reality of things, and they try to shake you up. And you're like, there's no point. I gotta keep moving forward. That's all I know. That's all I know. I got to. You know how things just keep happening and people just like, it's always something else the next week. It wasn't until like I finally realized where everything, I was soaking up everything, right? And then I was thinking like, why is narcissist abuse something that's hard to move past, right? And a lot of times it's because you really wanted that. You really wanted it to work. You really wanted this person. You really felt like you were heard. You almost feel like you were never heard. You feel like somebody finally knew me, knew my soul, like knew the real me, not just the versions of me that they thought I was. And you felt like that about them too, right? You got to think about it. Why do narcissist people, they attack a lot of people that are nice and good, right? Not people that are mean and uninterested in them, right? So they love the attention you're giving them because they want to be seen, they want to be heard. It's when you feel pain and you don't care about being seen or heard that you realize this person doesn't even know what they're doing to you. And you wonder why. And you wonder why, and you're like, there were many times I could move past things, but this thing I can't shake. What is it? It must be because I really wanted this. This is my vision. That's what I envisioned, right? I wanted to envision what I wanted to envision. And a lot of times we're like, well, that person knew, they knew what they were doing. Everything was calculated. Yeah, it might have been true, but that person also wanted what they wanted, and they were who they were, and you just didn't know who they were because you wanted to see what you wanted to see, right? And then you think like, a lot of things happen, trauma, you connect through these things, but you're like, I'm still hanging on, right? I'm still moving and grooving. And then you look back and you realize a lot of those moments you wish you could have done things different even back then, right? You look at certain things that you did, and then you get angry with yourself, or you're sad, or you feel like you didn't deserve certain things to happen to you, or you weren't born into the right family, or or why did this have to happen like this, and I tried to forgive this person, or I did this person wrong and I don't feel good about it. A lot of people deal with many things that they end up getting hit in the head extra hard. And it's like, it's not, it's like if someone like goes into an accident and like loses their mind and they don't know who they are, they wake up from a coma and they're like, I don't know who I am. It's like you wake up and it's like, I know who I am. It's like, I've been dreaming this whole time. It's the opposite. It's like forced trauma, and you're like, you don't realize some people don't live your life. You don't realize some people have it. Some people have it worse, but you don't really. You feel for them, but it's not. You have empathy for them, but some people would even say it's just sympathy because you don't feel what they're feeling. A lot of people say empathy. Oh, I got empathy. But I've realized with a lot of people that I've just came across, and just things that I see and patterns that I see in people, and the same things that they do, or like it's almost like a movie. It's like a movie. I don't know how to explain it. If you know what I mean, you know what I mean. But it's like your chest will really be in pain because you could feel people's pain, and you could feel when people are only showing empathy because they're only thinking of themselves and what they've been through and the things that they went through. So they're quick to hate other people because they're like, my shit's been worse than you. But in their mind, the narcissist also, they do the same thing, but maybe you just don't do it on that level, right? So I noticed a lot of people do that, and that's not to obviously bash anyone and feel and act like, oh, there's something wrong with that. But I'm just saying some people just don't take accountability of certain things, or they just don't realize that it's okay to take accountability because certain situations you couldn't help because this is just the path that your life was set up to be. It wasn't your fault. You were just brought into this world, and that was supposed to be your storyline. You know what I'm saying? So it's okay to take accountability. That was just your storyline. And it's painful, right? Some people you see that they can admit the things that they do, like the narcissist does, but they don't realize the actual pain that you're feeling. That's what separates you basically from them. But a lot of times their pain, right? They do feel pain, but it's mostly for themselves, so they can't relate to you. You know, they can relate to you, but it's not the way you think. And they want you to know that, but you just can't see it because you're like, it doesn't make any sense, right? And it's really messed up because this person can be very cruel to you and call you names and just treat you just like they wouldn't care if you're alive or dead. And to you, it's like you're almost like you are my lifeline, right? Because sometimes you almost feel like they were put or placed in your life even for a reason, and that makes you, that's why you have such an intense high feeling for them, and it's just not the same for them. So that's what will make, you know, make you break to the point where you almost feel like, wow, like how could you give someone life, care about them, and they just shit on you like that, right? It's like almost like how can they not see, right? They view you as just being another person, like another person in their storyline. Oh, just another supply, right? And when you think about moving on and all the realities you are in and grieving everything at once and grieving, it's like you're grieving your past self, you're grieving your past self and all the times your past self didn't grieve. And that's why certain people have to heal longer than others, because certain things are just hard to get over, and some things are even hard to forgive, but you know deep down inside you have to, right? You also are aware that you can't wake them up. You can't wake people up. You can't allow people to see things that you see, because they just don't understand until it happens to them. You know, like I've shared with you guys, when I had a miscarriage, some people judged me. Some people said maybe I was doing too much. Excuse me. Some people, was like, was she doing something? It's like people were saying bad things about me while I was at my lowest. Some people were fake and acted like they care, but it was only to be seen by others or to take a picture. So I realized, like, looking at how people just behave, and these are the same people that call themselves empaths, same people that call other people narcissists, certain people that, just they only see things until it happens to you, while you're just constantly afraid, not afraid, but you're constantly like, wow, like people aren't seeing what I'm seeing, and you're like, shit is real, right? And it doesn't matter what you say to them. It doesn't matter how you can resolve issues. People don't want to resolve issues. You realize everyone is in their own world. Everyone has their own reality based off of their life, their upbringing, whatever it is. And you just get to see how people could be selfish. They feel like, oh, you don't see what I see, and this is why I have to be this way. You feel like, oh, those things in life don't matter. These are the things that matter. And that person sees it, different, right? So what hurts the most about getting over is we understand that. We understand how people are different and everything, and you accepted the narcissist for who they are, but then when they did something that you don't like, you don't accept it, right? And then you draw back and you're like, these are things I'm not going to accept, and the narcissist will lie to you and convince you to open your heart again, and you'll believe them, and they'll do it again. And it's crazy because they'll do it so many times where to them it's like, well, if these aren't things that you don't like, you wouldn't accept them. So that to them it's like you do like them, even though you feel like you don't, because you wouldn't be around me, or you wouldn't forgive me. You wouldn't be so easy to forgive me, right? So you're trying to make me be something I'm not, right? And if I lie to you and I keep doing the same thing over and over again and you're not getting it, to the empath, it's like you knew that I didn't know. You knew that I couldn't see that. You knew that I saw you differently. You knew that I saw you for who you used to be and the things you shared with me. You knew that you were constantly evolving, and you were trying to dumb me down, right? You were trying to isolate me from the world, from people. You were trying to confuse me, gaslight me, make it seem like I didn't see what I saw. And then when you realize, that I can't be gaslit anymore, you're like, boom, boom, boom. Look at what I'm doing. Look, now they're, showing you what's underneath. And then you'll spend time in shock. You'll spend time not wanting to leave. You'll spend time just hoping it changes. You spend time, trying to figure out how to be alone. And the narcissist would just spend time looking for supply and like nothing, right? So when we stop feeling guilty for ourselves, that's when we can move on. When we stop hanging on to things that we did in the past, or stop hanging on to things we could have done different, and knowing that you tried, you did your part, you tried to forgive, you tried to work things out, you tried to leave the door open and tell these people who've hurt you, even like, okay, this is it, I guess I'm gonna move on with my life. But then it was hard to, right? But you stood on what you said you were going to do. And you know even when you move on, it's still hard, because the memories, the thoughts, the things that you learn, everything haunts you in different ways. And some things might even make you happy. Some things you might feel like that was a nice time, right? And even though the narcissist, they just wanted to have these nice moments because they liked how they saw themselves, you found happiness in certain moments. You have certain memories. You learned certain things, right? So you realize, in order to move on, you have to accept people's realities, because a lot of times you hold on to things even from the past, even from your childhood, even to what your parents did or didn't do. And all those things, what people don't realize, even I didn't realize at some point, right? Is that it really affects you. It really does something to you. When you move through life, don't want to see the past, ignore the past, or the past calls you and you're like indifferent. That does something to you. That means you can't forgive yourself. That means you don't even really know yourself. I believe, from my experience, that the only way I was able to know who I was when I had time to be silent. And I realized a lot of people don't get that type of time. Some people don't even understand that having time to yourself is even a blessing. You know that? Because it helps you see patterns, how the world moves, how people think, how nature moves, how the birds sing, how the birds cry, how the dogs cry in pain. It helps you see everything. It helps you see the wonders of the world, everything, right? It helps you even see your reality. It helps you even see yourself in the mirror differently. Take a look in the mirror, you know, before you say something to someone. Look in the mirror. Do you know who you are? Who are you when you're alone, when you're by yourself in your own thoughts, when no one's around, when no one's there to comfort you? When no one cares what you got to say and how you think and what you got going, when you finally realize that certain people aren't really there for you, when you realize the people that have been there for you, you haven't been listening to them, or you don't respect them because they don't have what you feel like they should have, or they don't live their life the way, right? Or you think you're better than them. You feel like, oh, I didn't deserve this life. I didn't deserve this life. They don't even realize that time was a blessing, that time to do what you want to do, time to even say something like that, time to even say, hey, I don't like this type of life. You even had enough time to even figure out what kind of life you want to live. People don't even think about that. People don't even think about the time or the effort or how long they've been here and others didn't make it, or how worse others have had it. Some people don't realize these things. Some people don't treat others well. Some people hold things against others' heads for what they've done forever, and the guilt is killing both parties. And I've seen it. And then when it happened to me, I wanted to change it, and then when I couldn't change it, I said, oh shit, that's why they're always in pain, because they even tried to change it and both parties keep saying what they saying. And when one party don't care about what they saying and how they want to keep moving on, the other party want to keep holding on. And I'm like, oh, that's crazy. That's real. That's what stops people from moving on. And it's easy to tell people, hey, empath, move on, because this is what the video is about. But guess what? There was different stages in your life you moved on. It doesn't mean forget. You know how people tell you forgive, don't forget, because those are the people in your story. See, when I got time to myself for a long time, I spent years by myself. I spent years thinking about different things people said, their lives, their characters, right? I spent a lot of time analyzing things, getting angry, upset, feeling peaceful, feeling like I could forgive, feeling jealous, feeling all kinds of emotions. Why do they get to just do this? Why do they get to move on? You don't realize that everyone is living different stories, and they're at a different chapter in their life, and it just hasn't come to that yet. You don't realize these things because you're in pain. You're stuck in that chapter and you don't know how to write the next one. So what I'm saying is, it's going to hurt, but you got to write the next chapter, because at the end of the day, all you got is all the chapters that you've created, which are the memories. And yeah, I feel like even the bad memories are good, because I feel like they're still memories. Some people, like, they don't even, I've been around people that just, they haven't even lived, or they haven't even been in love, or they haven't known what real sacrifice or pain or just real love. They think they know. They think they do. They don't know what it's like to be vulnerable, to keep sacrificing yourself over and over again, when that person knows you're doing it and they're well aware and you're well aware, because you have free will and you know you do, so you're freely giving yourself because you feel like you need to. You feel like they even needed you. You wanted to be needed. They wanted to feel needed. And A lot of times you think that people forget you, but people don't forget you. They just don't talk to you. They just ignore you. And you have to think about, who you are as a person. When you're by yourself, who are you? What did you do? How did you treat people? What did you say? Why did you say it? What did that person ever do to you? Were they forgiving? Did they just keep hurting you? Who did you hurt? You know, all those thoughts, I'm just saying, all those thoughts, they circle around people. I've seen it. I've seen the people, my elders, people, they're always in thought. They're quiet sometimes. Sometimes the women are just giving up the information, and they're sitting back. And I've analyzed everyone, and I've analyzed people's pains, and I understand that certain people just let others get stuff out their chest, and they feel like it's better just not to say nothing because people are just grieving all the time because shit is just always happening. And when you're by yourself, that's when you have to think, who am I? If I was to be gone, what would these characters have to say about me? What would the people that have ever crossed say about me? You know? Sometimes the empath is so stuck being angry and having resentment. And I know it because I've felt it. I feel it every now and then. I get triggered. I'm not perfect. I get triggered. But the difference is I'm able to acknowledge it. I'm able to analyze it. I'm able to see, why do I feel like that? Do I have a reason? Does it actually matter? No, it don't really even matter, bitch. Sorry, excuse my language, but that's how I talk to myself in my mind sometimes. Like, it doesn't even matter. Move on. It's okay. If it's meant to be, it's meant to be. If things are supposed to go that way, they will go that way. I realized I don't got control. That's why you got to move on, because you don't got control. God has control. And a lot of times, even, I've talked about the cult. I've talked about how you feel. I've been in all these different situations, family, everything. And that's why I say sometimes it's not even about just exposing people. You're just, oh, I'm going to expose this person. You don't know that person's reality. You don't even know that person. Some people you think you don't even know them like that. Sometimes you be thinking you know your own kids. You don't even know your own kids. Where you find that at? Oh, I found it right here. Somebody must have left our ass, but... And you be believing these little kids, and they be straight up lying in your face. I'm just saying. It's crazy, but it's funny, but it's crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of times you don't know people's realities. They can live in your own home, and we are all having a whole different experience. That's why you got to move on, because you don't have control. You don't have control about making people aware about certain things. You could tell someone something, and guess what? A lot of times, this is how I've dealt with moving on. I'll tell someone something. It depends on what it is. It depends if it has anything to do with me, first of all. And that person, I don't get involved, right? Because there's different people say anything, and it could be the opposite, right? You gotta gather information, and what people do is they just go and start talking, right? So it's been times where, I feel like, okay, I got to say something because it got something to do with me. Because I'm going to speak up for myself. This is what I mean when moving on. It's not about silencing yourself. You could speak up for yourself, but you don't got to do it over and over again. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what happens when you're with a narcissist. You're trying to get them to see things your way or how you feel, and you're just repeating yourself, and you know that person doesn't care, right? They feel like what you're saying don't matter. I got bigger fish to fry, right? So it's okay to, reveal your truth, but you don't gotta, in order to move on, you can't stay stuck on things, repeating things. Just say what you need to say, and that's it. Like, you need to move on, and in order to move on, you need to know yourself. In order to know yourself, you got to know that most things just don't matter. You know what I'm saying? Certain things just don't matter, and anything that draws you in to do something or be negative, those things just, it's not worth your energy. It actually drains your energy, and when you've been drained out of your energy and you've been, down and out and on your own, but you still got enough energy to keep you going, you know that your energy can't be played with, right? You got to be okay. In order to move on, you got to be okay with change, with things constantly changing. You got to be okay with problem solving. You got to learn, you got to be okay with doing things yourself, not being codependent on anyone. Not being codependent, not just on a financial level, but on a spiritual level, because a lot of times people don't see things your way because they might, resonate with you in many ways, but their reality is different. Don't force your reality on people. So in order for you to move on, don't force your reality on people. You know, don't don't let other people's reality make you feel like, fear. Don't be fearful. You know what I'm saying? That's what happens with a lot of narcissists. They're fearful, so they're effing with people everywhere, effing with people on the street, effing with people at the job place. That's what they do. That's what they love to do. So you got to be okay with moving on, knowing that, hey, don't take it personal. They're going to say things, do things, treat me a certain way, look at me a certain way. They're going to have their opinion of me, because once you know who you are, when you're able to look in the mirror and accept yourself and not judge yourself, judge your past, judge the people around you, hate people for what they did, and because that'll be just you taking it out on other things in different ways, right? So it's okay to let go, to not feel like, oh, this person did this to me, my parent did this to me, my cousin did this to me, my friend did this to me. It's okay to let go. You know what I'm saying? It's okay to let go, because you didn't choose this life. You didn't choose your parents. Your parents didn't choose their parents. Their parents didn't choose their parents. Sometimes people choose each other's parents, and people are arranged in things. But what I'm saying is, your reality, that's just, you have to accept it. You have to accept, like, who was I? Who was I in that life? Who was I until I woken up from that dream, right? It was a dream. And then in order to move on, things are going to look like a nightmare. They are. I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. Shit's going to be tough. Things are going to happen. Things are happening now every minute. But this is why you had to go through these things. You had to go through these things, and you have free will to do these things. And it's okay, because you get to think ahead. You get to do what you can do from here on out. You know what I'm saying? There's a big reason why you're able to now, at some point, you're going to realize, I got to move on, and I got to figure out what I'm going to do, what I'm going to be happy doing, what's going to bring me peace. What can I do to bring peace to myself? How can I rest? How can I be okay with things? How can I accept things? How can I see things that others don't see? What can I do? What can I do for myself from here on out? Right? How do I want to be remembered? People don't think about that, but in order to move on, you got to. Sometimes we don't even like to think about the bad things. You know how many times I'm like, I don't want to think about that. I don't want to think about that. You know, narcissists do this when you bring shit up. When bad things started happening to me, I'm like, I don't want to think about that. And I was understanding why the narcissists avoid shit so much. I'm like, oh, that's why they avoid stuff so much, because that they almost looked at you like you saved them. You know what I'm saying? They treat you low down and stuff like that, but the only reason they're around is because they feel like you're saving them from something. They might not love you, but they're like, oh, you're saving me from something, so I love you. I don't love you the way you want me to love you, but I love you because you're saving me from myself. They're trying to save themselves from themselves, and that's scary. And when you realize that and you find yourself and you know yourself and you know you got to move on, you're going to realize these people needed saving from themselves. You're going to realize, I didn't choose this life. I didn't choose certain things to happen to me. But when they did happen to me, I learned these things from it. And you realize this is my story and they're part of your story. And just as they're part of your story, you're part of their story too. You're part of their story too. They could have felt like, oh, people, shitted on me, or I don't trust people. Oh, I like to play with people's feelings. I like to do all these things, right? Oh, I don't care about lying to your face. People them lied to me. They could come at you with all of that, right? All of that. But they needed you, even if they're laughing behind your back, even if they're talking about you to other people and making up lies, they needed you. And when you need somebody, you're always going to remember them, whether you like it or not, whether you respected them or not. So you got to be okay with moving on, because people got to see, people learn the hard way, right? That's why I say, if you were to die the narcissist, they're like, oh, you know, they were really, she really loved me. He really loved me. They love funerals. How many times I've said that? Because that's when they're like, oh, this person treats, so they can accept, they can actually, while you're alive, they can't tell you, they can't validate what you've done for them, how nice you treated them. They can't tell you that they appreciate what you've done for them, whether you're together or not. They can't appreciate you, and the time you spent with them. They can't appreciate you. They can't accept apologies. They're angry. They don't want to make things right. They don't want to end things mutual. You know what I'm saying? They want to carry hate. And a lot of times, because they keep carrying that hate, it'll make you hate them, and then now you're hating each other. You know what I'm saying? So, when you think about that, you have to think, even if that person don't respect you, they know what you did. And at the end of the day, once you're not here, once you continue your story, and once your story ends, people, all these characters, they know who you were to them. They know how you treated them. They know what they've done to you. They know that they never probably even knew you, and that's why they got to read your book, because they never even knew you. They just knew things about you, things you went through with other people. They were all trying to stay connected to you, and in the end, they're going to realize they were never connected to you. In the end, they're going to realize, they're going to try to force connections with people, and then they're going to see that those people don't want to connect to them. And then they're going to realize that certain connections are gone, and they got to live with that. and they got to do what's best for them or what they can do with what they got with, because they're going to be like, no matter how bad the narcissist does, they're going to be grateful. They're going to be posting nice pictures on the internet. They're going to be on the gram for you like nothing is happening. And then you people get deceived thinking people just move on and they're happy just because of the new supply or what they have materialistically. That don't got nothing to do with nothing. A lot of people in pain, a lot of people at some point, they're going to go through enough trauma and they're going to wake up and say, this too much. That's too much. And they're going to feel like it's hard to move on. And some people ain't going to make it, and some people are going to make it. And some people feel like they can't make it, which I know a lot of empaths feel like they can't make it. And guess what? When you feel like you can't make it, that's because you can make it. When you feel like you can't make it, that's because you can make it. You just got to let go of that fear. When you feel like you can't make it, that means you can make it. You've made it this far. You just feel like it's getting harder. It's like going to school, and then now you go from math, basic math to algebra to geometry to you just keep going, right? So that's how life is, and that's why narcissists feed off of other people. Some of them might be successful, but like I said, they might have a trauma they might have had everything given to them. But they might feel like, hey, I was told to be masculine. She got to be feminine, and I had to have a harder life than her. Or, you're baby boy, mom loves you more, and I was treated like this. So everybody got different stories. And then that's why I say sometimes people that you even been around your whole life never really knew you, and then you also realize that you never really knew them either. And then by the time you realize that, a lot of times it's too late. Everybody's gone. Everybody played their role. Everybody living their life. Nobody want to get together. Everybody is living in their own world. You know what I'm saying? And then all you got is what's around you, and you're like, oh, I remember the times where it was a lot of us, and or this is how your grandparents are talking about their grandparents, and their grandparents are gone, and their grandparents now, right? People hold on to things, right? So it's okay to move on, and those memories, they're not going to go nowhere. That's why the narcissist looks at you like, you're not going to go nowhere. You're always going to be in my memory. It don't matter. They're like, oh, nobody going to find no one better. They say things like that. They feel like that's what they want to create in their mind. And that's what it's going to be, because that's the character they've created you to be in their story. And that's why when you move on, now they're like spying on you. Now they're sometimes they're trying to get back with you, or things don't go their way. Now they're like, coming at you like they've changed, or they just go through different stages of life and they realize certain things weren't worth it. And sometimes they know that the things that they did are almost unforgivable, and they'll just never look back. And you have to be okay with understanding that certain people, they do feel bad. They just not gonna tell you because they got pride, because they feel like they shouldn't stay stuck on those things, because life just keeps lifing. You know what I'm saying? So I just wanted to come on here and talk about that, because you can't expect certain things, or or be mad because you didn't have the reality that you wanted. All you can do is acknowledge it. Don't expect people to change their ways. Don't expect people to see things your way or be on your side all the time, Because when you look in the mirror, who's there? Just you. No one can see your spirit, your soul the way that you can. We just see these bodies. You're not supposed to see these things. You're supposed to see the soul, but most people can't see people's souls. And it's for a reason. You got to think about that. Why is that? Why is it that I have the power to keep these things in my mind? Because I'm supposed to pay attention. I ain't supposed to really be speaking unless I'm being spoken to be real. But you got to keep moving on, you know? It's like I have some birds, right? When I got them, I ain't really think a big deal. I'm like, people got pets, I love animals, and the longer I've been around animals, I realize they're smart. They know things. They might be close to me or like me. They might appreciate that I'm feeding them, but a part of them will start to even hate you because they feel like you're the reason for them being how they are. You could open the door and tell them they're free to go. They'll be afraid to go. They have access to information, but they're not dumb enough because they know, hey, I might not make it out there. I'm too codependent, right? So part of moving on is not feeling like anybody owe you nothing, not feeling like if somebody play you, you got to keep going back and forth with them, or, it's understanding, like, you just got to keep, when you see what you see and you know what you know, and then you don't like it, it's time to move on, and that's just it, So I realized that even with my animals, and I'm like, sometimes, like, honestly, my dream would be like going where they're native to, like going to where they're native, where they, a lot of times that's how I view people. Like, we know people, we see people, we might say we love people, but we don't really know people. We don't care to figure it out. We don't really care. Everyone is just surviving, right? So part of moving on is also understanding that you have to survive this. You have to do whatever you can to survive. You can't give up on yourself, even though you want to, even though you did. Even though you've given up on yourself, you got to get up. You got to get up. And, it's not your time. It's not your time. It's like doing jail time. You know what I'm saying? Like, some people die at birth. Some people, So you got to live your life. You're still here for a reason. The things that you've learned, the things that you got access to, the things that certain people aren't aware of, you have to let those things be known. You have to share your light. So what happens is you don't want to share your light. You want to do the time and be like, I'm going to just do the time and be mad. Or you could do the time and make the most of it and help people that, are searching for that help on a spiritual level, on a mental level. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of people spend most of their lives, not even knowing who they are, because society is telling them who they are. Music is telling them who they are. Their friends are telling them. They're identifying with the people around them. They're identifying with their family, and you can gain good things and bad things about different people that you come across, right? You can gain a lot of good memories, a lot of knowledge. You can learn things. The problem with narcissists is that they don't want to give people credit. You know what I'm saying? They don't want to give people credit. So a lot of times, you'll be the you'll have to be the bigger person. So part of moving on is like, you had your time to be mad, you had your time to be sad, you had your time to be jealous, and at some point you're going to have to just move on, right? To the point where people can say things to you and they don't bother you. As you can see, a lot of people nowadays, in order to get clout, they got to get put negative stuff out. They got to talk crazy to one another. They got to make each other feel low. They got to point out your flaws, and they do it so effortlessly, right? They do it so effortlessly. Like, everyone is pretending like they're not offended. Everyone's pretending like they're not affected by it, and that's supposed to bring them closer to one another. We've seen our the ugliest parts of ourselves. We've said the ugliest things to one another. Now we could be friends because that let me know that you're strong enough to take bullshit, right? That's the type of friendships people want nowadays, right? Part of moving on is seeing those things. People behave that way. People not even knowing the bigger picture. People not even having the strength to be kind. People not being strong enough to be kind and good to one another. For you to see that, for you to see how they're mocking God, how they're trying to play with you, and they know who to play with and who not to play with, that's going to help you move on. That's going to allow you to be stronger. That's going to help you not, hold these things against people that just don't understand. They think they do. They think they're in pain, and they think that's what makes them intelligent, and that's what makes them feel like, oh, I found people like me because we both think the same, right? Part of moving on is seeing that it's okay to have friends. It's okay to, start all over. It's okay to, live a new life. It's okay to do these things. It's okay to be a different version of yourself and accept the things that you don't want to even accept, the things that you want to kind of ignore. It's okay to accept those things, right? Because this is how the narcissist moves on so quickly. A lot of times you were around narcissistic people until you finally realize all these people only care about themselves. And with you, you felt like, I don't just care about myself, I cared about y'all. But y'all didn't care about me. So part of moving on is finding people that care about you just as, as well. And it's going to be by their actions, not by their words. Not by being nice sometimes and then trying to force pain on you. Not being able to forgive. You're reverse hoovering them. You know what I'm saying? Part of moving on is seeing when someone has finally moved on from you and taking the steps to make your exit plan. You don't got to say nothing. You don't owe nobody nothing. Once they switch up on you, that's just what it is. That's it. And also, not about just dismissing people just because you're expecting someone to be perfect. It's about moving on, doing things where you're self-aware of the choices that you're making so that when you look back, you don't regret these things because you know they were your choices. And you know that no one was in control. You thought things out. You know what you could take, what you don't take, what you want, what you desire. And knowing that in order for you to move on, that those are things outside of yourself. That doesn't define you. Those are just things you want, things that make you feel good. But it doesn't define you because at some point, like I said, you're gonna know, hey, this is who I am, how I've treated people, what I've done, what I've accomplished. This is just who I am. This is who my physical being is, right? And being okay with it, not being angry with people and with choices that were made for you, not staying stuck in the past. That's the only thing you can do to move on, is not staying stuck in the past, right? Moving on. And when you know that, you do better, right? You make conscious choices, meaning that no one can make these choices for you. And once you make those conscious choices, you're going to tell yourself, okay, this is what I want to do with my time. And when you do what you do with your time and you decide what you want to do with your time and what is going to make you happy and what is not going to bring you stress, because you know what stresses you out, you know what brings stress and death. Stress is death. When people bring stress in your life, it's death. They're bringing death in your life. So when you know certain things are bringing death in your life, if you'd rather be alone because you know, hey, I haven't found anyone that matches my energy, that's fine. If people are trying to tell you what things should be or how things should be or what you're not going to get and how you should be in a rush to do this or that, it's not your reality. That's their reality. That's their opinion. Their opinion don't matter once you know who you are, because you're moving forward to do the things that you want to do that are going to help you feel better, to do your time. How you want to be remembered. Anything that you do outside of who you are to spend your time to bring peace into your life, anything that you do outside of who you know you are, because you know you're kind, you're forgiving, you're loving, you have loyalty, you have endurance, right? You're self-aware of these things. So when you do things that make you happy outside of yourself and who you are, that's a plus. That's a blessing. That's a blessing. Most people don't even see it as a blessing, right? But that's why they have bad and good memories, because it's their story, right? So in order for people to move on is to accept that many things, many challenges, things will sometimes change, friendships will end, people will change, some people won't be around all the time, right? In order for you to understand and keep moving forward and not, stay stuck, you have to be aware that anything outside of yourself is a plus. And if you lose, right? You lose, it's a losing game sometimes, right? And it's rough and it's hard and you got to go through the mud sometimes, and sometimes you go back to step one. Don't forget who you are, because that's what's going to keep you moving forward, because you're going to say, hey, these things don't define me. Hey, I lost it all. These things don't define me. Hey, things didn't go as planned. Hey, I wasn't expecting. Life takes you through so many loops. You've been through so many lifetimes. So as long as you know things around me don't define me, you'll be good. This is why narcissists are able to move on, because they almost they just look at people as just props in their movie. And yeah, thinking that someone can look at you like that, that's what hurts. That's pain. But the pain will let you see what you don't want in your life. The pain will let you see that person will one day, a lot of times when people do things to people, it's because they're not suffering that pain enough for them to think about what they're doing consciously. So that right there, let alone, should let you know, hey, I don't want to be around this type of person, because they don't want to learn certain things because they lived a different reality from me. And I can say I expect them to know more than me because they're older than me, or, a lot of people, the problem with a lot of people, sometimes you're being pressured into things or dating older men, and this person you might be wiser than them, right? Or vice versa, right? But you might be wiser than them. The image might look good, the money might look good, but the emotional intelligence is not there. They don't got it. They're not a real person. They can't feel others and what other people are going through. They can't see the future. They're only worried about the now and what they want and what they can get. They're not thinking about the long term results of their actions. And that's why you got to move on. So I hope that this message, you guys, helped you. I didn't want to bash. I didn't want to bash the narc today. I'll bash him tomorrow. I didn't want to bash him today, but I'll bash him tomorrow. But no, I didn't want to go in on them. But I also know it's very important because, man, life is crazy and it's always taking different turns, and you just don't expect certain things to happen, and they do. And that's what kind of, that helps you be more self-aware about how you approach others and how you talk, or what you say to others, because you don't know what people go through. You don't know what their reality is, what they're thinking. You might have a perception of it, but you still have no idea. So be careful, be safe. I'm sending you guys lots of love, light, peace, and your healing. If you guys enjoyed this, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you guys are new. And you guys know my booking information is always on the description. And as always, I'll talk to you guys on the next one. Love you guys. Bye.